First contact at Broken Stars. The Broken Stars sector earned its name honestly. Scattered across 3 light-years of space, the shattered remnants of ancient worlds drifted in eternal silence, testament to a war so old that no living species remembered who fought it or why. Now this graveyard marked the contested border between 2 of the galaxy's greatest powers, the Calrix Dominion and the VRWNN Collective. Commander Zax Thor of the Calrix 3rd Patrol Fleet had seen many strange things in his 40 years of service, but the vessel his sensors detected today defied immediate classification. It drifted among the debris like just another piece of wreckage, but something about its energy signature felt wrong, too regular, too controlled. Analysis. Zax Thor clicked his mandibles together, the sound translated instantly by his crew's communication implants. Unknown configuration, Commander, his sensor officer responded, her chitinous exoskeleton reflecting the dim blue light of the bridge displays. Hull composition suggests primitive metallurgy. No active weapons signatures. Minimal energy output. It appears damaged. Zax Thor studied the vessel on his view screen. It was small by Calrix standards, perhaps a quarter the size of his flagship, with a peculiar asymmetric design that seemed more functional than aesthetic. Strange markings adorned its hull, symbols his computer couldn't immediately translate. Could be a VRWNN scout, suggested his tactical officer. New stealth design. The VRWNN wouldn't build something so crude, Zax Thor countered. Open a standard hailing channel. If it's derelict, we salvage it. If it's occupied, we determine if it's a threat. The communications officer worked her console, cycling through standard galactic frequencies. For a long moment, nothing. Then the speakers crackled to life with a voice that made every Calrix on the bridge freeze. Calrix vessel, this is the Terran Republic ship Odyssey. We receive your hail. The voice spoke perfect Calrix, with proper dialect and tonal inflection that suggested native fluency. We mean no intrusion into your territory. We are experiencing navigation system malfunctions and request temporary safe passage to neutral space. Zax Thor's primary eyes widened. Terran? He accessed the galactic database searching for any reference. After a moment, a single entry appeared, a rejected membership application to the Galactic Council from 2 decades prior. Species classification, pre-spaceflight civilization, primitive technology, no strategic value. This is impossible, Zax Thor muttered. That species shouldn't have left their homeworld yet. He activated his communication channel. Terran vessel, you are in violation of Calrix sovereign space. Power down all systems and prepare to be boarded. Commander, with respect, we cannot comply with that request. The voice remained calm, almost friendly. Our mission parameters require us to maintain operational security. However, we are willing to leave your territory immediately if you provide safe corridor coordinates. Zax Thor felt his combat instincts flare. 30 years of border conflicts had taught him that politeness often masked hostile intent. You will comply or you will be destroyed. This is your final warning. Silence stretched for 5 heartbeats. Then, Commander Zax Thor of the 3rd Patrol Fleet, please understand that we truly wish to avoid conflict. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. How did they know his name? Zax Thor's talons clicked nervously against his command chair. Tactical, target their propulsion systems. Disable them. Targeting, firing. 3 plasma bolts lanced across space, each one capable of melting through standard military-grade armor. The Calrix crew watched as the weapon struck the human vessel dead center. Nothing happened. The ship didn't even shudder. The plasma dispersed across an invisible barrier, dissipating harmlessly into space like water against stone. Shields holding at? Commander, our sensors can't even measure their shield strength. The tactical officer's voice carried undisguised shock. It's like we didn't hit them at all. Zax Thor rose from his chair, his exoskeleton bristling. Full fleet attack pattern Gamma. Overwhelming force. Now. 6 Calrix warships broke formation, their weapon ports glowing as they charged their primary batteries. This was a show of force that had ended a dozen border disputes. No single vessel could withstand the combined firepower of a Calrix patrol fleet. The human ship finally moved. It didn't flee or take evasive action. Instead, it rotated gracefully, presenting its dorsal surface to the advancing fleet. Panels along its hull irised open, revealing arrays of equipment that glowed with soft blue light. Terran ship, this is your absolute final, Zax Thor began. I'm sorry, Commander. The human voice interrupted, and for the first time, it carried a note of genuine regret. My name is Commander Sarah Chin of the Terran Republic. I truly hoped we could do this differently. A pulse of energy emanated from the human vessel, not visible to the naked eye, but every sensor on every Calrix ship screamed warnings simultaneously. Zaxthor watched in horror as his tactical displays went haywire, then stabilized to show something impossible. All weapon systems across the entire fleet showed offline. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply disabled. As if someone had reached into each ship's computer core and flipped a switch. What have you done? Zaxthor demanded, fighting to keep panic from his voice. Nothing permanent, Commander Chin replied. Your weapons will reactivate in approximately 10 minutes. Your shields, engines and life support remain fully functional. We have not harmed a single member of your crew. Do you understand what this means, Commander? Zaxthor understood perfectly. It meant this one small vessel had just demonstrated absolute tactical superiority over his entire fleet without firing a single destructive shot. It meant whoever these humans were, they possessed technology decades, maybe centuries, beyond current galactic standards. It meant everything the Council thought they knew about this species was catastrophically wrong. How? He whispered. We've been watching, Commander. Learning. Your languages, your cultures, your technologies. For 40 years, we've moved through this galaxy like ghosts, observing, understanding, waiting. Chen's voice remained gentle, almost apologetic. We saw the conflicts, the territorial disputes, the endless cycle of mistrust and violence. We knew that if we revealed ourselves too soon, we would just become another faction in the wars. So we waited. We prepared. We made ourselves ready for the day when the galaxy would need us. Need you? Zaxthor felt dizzy. Why would we need you? Because something is coming, Commander. Something that makes our differences meaningless. We found the warnings in the ruins of dead civilizations scattered across the rim. We deciphered their messages. And we've spent 4 decades preparing for what they feared. Chin paused. The Devourers are returning. Zaxthor had heard the name in ancient texts, legends of machine horrors that consumed entire star systems, leaving only void in their wake. Children's stories. Myths to frighten cadets. Those are fairy tales. They were real, Commander. And they're waking up. Chen's voice carried absolute certainty. We didn't hide because we were afraid of you. We hid because we needed time to become strong enough to face them. Strong enough to protect this galaxy when the darkness returns. Before Zaxthor could respond, his sensor officer gasped. Commander. Multiple contacts appearing across Dominion space. Dozens of them. All showing the same signature as the human vessel. Zaxthor's blood ran cold. How many? 53. No, 71. They're still appearing. Commander, they're everywhere. Every major system, every strategic position. How is this possible? Commander Chen's voice returned, and now it carried steel beneath the gentleness. We are the Terran Republic, Commander Zaxthor. We are 300 billion strong across 12 colony worlds you never knew existed. We have ships you never detected, stations you never found, technologies you never imagined. We have been here, among you, beside you, watching over you. And now, whether you accept us or not, we will stand between you and what comes from the darkness. She paused, and Zaxthor could almost hear the smile in her voice. The others are already in position. It's time for the galaxy to learn what humanity has become. The communication cut off, leaving Zaxthor staring at his displays as more and more human signatures appeared across the tactical map like stars igniting in the void. His weapons systems remained offline. His fleet remained helpless. And somewhere in the darkness beyond known space, something ancient and terrible was stirring. The age of secrets had ended. The time of revelation had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same. The Council's reckoning. The Chamber of Concordance on Unity Prime Station had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic politics. Its crystalline walls had echoed with the voices of countless ambassadors debating trade agreements, border disputes and cultural exchanges. Never in its long history had it seen such chaos. Ambassador Tkora of the VRNN Collective slammed 3 of her 4 arms against the central podium, her scales flushing deep crimson with barely contained rage. This is an act of war. An invasion. Unknown vessels appearing simultaneously across our space, violating our sovereignty. The Dominion faces the same situation, countered High Speaker Zenvir, his Calrix exoskeleton clicking with agitation. 73 unidentified ships within our borders. We demand Council action immediately. President Xyloth of the Council raised his hands, all 6 of them, calling for order. The elderly Quinn had served as Council President for 3 decades, navigating countless diplomatic crises with patience and wisdom. But even his legendary calm seemed shaken today. "Representatives, please. Let us approach this rationally." Xyloth's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix, rendering his words in each species' native tongue. "We have confirmed reports of these human vessels appearing in 17 different territories. Not just dominion and collective space, but neutral zones, independent systems, even within council jurisdiction. Then they have declared war on the entire galaxy." Tora hissed. "Have they?" The question came from observer Kryeth of the Zxthani hive, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the chamber's bioluminescent lighting. "According to all reports, these vessels have taken no hostile action. They simply appeared and transmitted a single message: we mean no harm. Await formal contact." "It's psychological warfare," Tkora insisted, "demonstrating their ability to penetrate our defenses at will." "Or," suggested Ambassador Felnox of the Harmonious Accord, his crystalline form chiming softly, "they are attempting to establish credibility before formal first contact. From their perspective, simply asking to join the council clearly didn't work." That statement brought uncomfortable silence. Xyloth accessed the historical records with a thought, projecting them onto the chamber's central display. A document appeared, dated 20 standard years prior: "Application for Galactic Council Membership, Terran Republic." The council members studied it in silence. The attached data painted a picture of a single-world civilization just beginning to experiment with faster-than-light travel. Primitive fusion drives, basic energy weapons, no significant industrial capacity beyond their homeworld. The assessment team had noted interesting cultural diversity and surprising linguistic adaptability, but concluded with a clear recommendation: premature for council membership by at least 5 centuries. "We sent them away," Xyloth said quietly. "We told them to return when they had something meaningful to contribute to galactic civilization." "They were primitive," Tora protested. "Our assessment was correct based on available data." "Was it?" The voice came from the chamber entrance, speaking perfect galactic common with an accent no one present had heard before. Every head turned. A human stood at the threshold, the first most of them had ever seen in person. He was tall by galactic standards, with dark skin and gray-flecked hair, wearing a simple gray uniform marked with unfamiliar insignia. 2 more humans flanked him, their postures relaxed but alert. "I am Ambassador James Okafor of the Terran Republic," he said, walking calmly toward the central podium. "Thank you for agreeing to see me on such short notice." "We didn't agree to anything." Tora moved to block his path. "You invaded our space." "You." She froze. The 2 humans flanking Okafor hadn't moved, but something in their stance communicated absolute readiness. Tora's combat instincts, honed through centuries of species evolution, screamed warnings. "Please, Ambassador Tkora." Okafor's voice remained gentle. "I truly mean no disrespect. But we have much to discuss, and time is more precious than you know." He reached the podium, and President Xyloth, after a moment's hesitation, gestured for him to proceed. "20 years ago we came to you as supplicants," Okafor began. "We showed you our primitive ships, our simple technology, our honest desire to join the galactic community. You rejected us. You were polite about it, diplomatic, but the message was clear: humanity had nothing of value to offer." He smiled slightly. "You weren't wrong to reject us. Not based on what you could see. But you made a critical assumption, that what you could see was all there was." Okafor gestured, and holographic displays materialized around the chamber. Council members gasped as images appeared: human ships moving through space with no visible drives, their hulls somehow bending light around them. Human observers standing mere meters from alien patrols, completely invisible. Human stations built inside hollowed asteroids, generating no detectable energy signatures. 40 years before we even applied for membership, we were already here," Okafor continued. "We learned your languages by listening to your communications. We studied your cultures by walking among you, unseen. We analyzed your technologies by observing your ships, your stations, your worlds. Impossible d'exenvir. Our security systems are excellent," Okafor interrupted gently, "by galactic standards. But humanity has one significant advantage: we're very, very good at not being noticed when we choose invisibility." He displayed more images: a human observer sitting in a cafe on VRNN Prime, indistinguishable from locals thanks to holographic disguise. A human vessel drifting past a Calrix shipyard, its hull perfectly mimicking the spectral signature of empty space. A human listening post built into the outer hull of Unity Prime itself, recording council sessions for decades. The chamber erupted. Accusations flew in a dozen languages. Security forces moved toward Okafor, weapons charging. Enough. Xylotha's voice cut through the chaos like thunder. Ambassador Okafor, you admit to espionage on an unprecedented scale. You have violated the sovereignty of every species in this chamber. Give me one reason why we shouldn't arrest you where you stand. Okafor met his gaze steadily. Because 3 weeks ago reality started tearing apart at the galactic rim. Because ancient weapons platforms, dormant for millennia, have begun activating across the dark zone. Because if we don't unite immediately, every civilization in this galaxy will be extinct within a standard year. The chamber fell silent. 40 years ago, our exploration ships found ruins on a dead world at the edge of known space, Okafor said quietly. Inside, we discovered warnings left by a civilization that died 10,000 years before humanity even evolved. Warnings about the Devourers, ancient machines that harvest entire star systems for energy. Warnings that explained why this part of the galaxy is so empty, why there are so many dead worlds, why civilizations rise and fall in cycles. He displayed images of alien ruins, of massive dormant machines, of star charts showing massive voids where solar systems should be. The warnings included a timeline, a prediction of when the Devourers would return. We didn't know if it was true, but we couldn't risk assuming it was myth. Okafor's voice grew heavy. So we hid. We prepared. We spent 40 years developing technologies specifically designed to fight enemies that could dismantle stars. We built weapons platforms in dark space, created ships that could operate in dimensional flux, trained crews for combat scenarios that seemed like insane fantasies. He paused, meeting each council member's eyes in turn. We weren't hiding from you. We were hiding to become what you would need when the darkness returned. And now that time has come. Kryeth of the Zxthani hive stepped forward, her chitinous form bristling. You expect us to believe this convenient story? To trust you after you've proven yourself capable of such deception? I expect you to verify it, Okafor replied. Send your ships to the following coordinates. He transmitted data to every council member simultaneously. You'll find the outer defense perimeter failing. You'll see what's coming. Then you'll understand why we did what we did. And if we refuse? Tora challenge. If we decide to deal with humanity as the threat you clearly are? For the first time, Okafor's expression hardened. Then you'll face the Devourers alone. And you'll lose. We've seen what they can do. We've studied their attack patterns in ancient records. Without our help, galactic civilization has approximately 6 months before cascade failure begins. He gestured to the holographic images still floating around the chamber. We're not your enemies. We never were. We're the shield that's been hiding in the darkness, preparing for this exact moment. The question isn't whether you trust us. The question is whether you're willing to survive. Before anyone could respond, alarms shrieked through the station. President Xylotha's eyes widened as emergency data flooded his neural interface. Report from the outer territories, he said, his voice shaking. The VRWNN colony at Helios Reach is gone. 3 billion inhabitants. The entire star system is empty. Just void where planets used to be. The chamber fell into horrified silence. Okafor closed his eyes briefly, grief clear on his face. It's begun, he whispered. The Devourers are awake. Now, honored council, we can argue about jurisdiction and sovereignty, or we can save everyone we still can. What's your choice? When the Devourers wake. Commander Sarah Chin stood on the bridge of the TRS Odyssey, watching reality break. The view screen displayed space that shouldn't exist. A region where normal physics gave way to something alien and terrifying. Stars flickered like dying candles. The fabric of space-time rippled like water disturbed by movement from below. And through the tears in reality they came. The Devourers. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. Each one was a geometric impossibility, structures that existed partially in normal space and partially somewhere else, their true forms too complex for three-dimensional perception. The smallest measured 5 kilometers across. The largest defied meaningful measurement, appearing simultaneously at multiple coordinates as if space itself couldn't contain them. Sir, we're reading massive energy spikes across the entire dark zone perimeter, her science officer reported, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. 17? No, 24 distinct entities. They're moving toward inhabited space. Fleet status. Chin asked calmly, though her heart hammered in her chest. All Terran vessels report ready. Alliance forces are taking position. Calric's Third Fleet under Commander Zax Thor has assumed Point Defense Gamma. VRYNN Heavy Cruiser Squadron is securing the flanks. ZX-Thani Hive ships are maintaining sensor picket. Her tactical officer managed a tight smile. Never thought I'd see the day when we fought alongside the Calrics, sir. Neither did I, Lieutenant. Chen watched the Allied fleet assembling around humanity's flagship. 200 ships representing 8 different species, brought together by desperation and humanity's revelation. 3 weeks had passed since Okafor's speech at the Council. 3 weeks of frantic preparation, of sharing technologies, of teaching old enemies to fight as allies. 3 weeks that had ended with the loss of 6 colony worlds and 14 billion lives. The Devourers consumed everything. Planets, moons, even stars, disassembled at the molecular level and converted into raw energy to fuel their ancient hunger. They didn't communicate, didn't negotiate. They simply harvested as they had for millions of years across countless galaxies. Incoming transmission from the Council flagship, her communications officer announced. Ambassador Okafor's face appeared on a secondary screen. He'd been granted Emergency Military Coordination Authority, a title created specifically for this crisis. Commander Chin, the Devourers have begun their approach. Primary target appears to be the Helios Gate. If they take that junction, they'll have clear passage to the core worlds. Understood, Ambassador. Chin pulled up tactical displays. We've deployed the dimensional anchors at key coordinates. If our theory is correct, it will work, Okafor interrupted firmly. It has to work. Chin appreciated his confidence even if she didn't entirely share it. The dimensional anchors were humanity's greatest innovation, devices that stabilized spacetime within a defined area, preventing the phase-shifting ability that made Devourers nearly invincible. But they'd never been tested against actual targets. All of humanity's preparation had been based on archaeological data and theoretical physics. Now they would discover if 40 years of research had been enough. All ships, this is Commander Chin. She activated fleet-wide communications. Today we face an enemy that has destroyed countless civilizations. An enemy that views us as nothing more than resources to be harvested. But they don't know what we've become. They don't know that we've had time to prepare, to unite, to forge something new from our differences. She paused, watching the Allied fleet on her displays. Humanity didn't hide because we were afraid of you. We hid because we needed to become strong enough to stand beside you. Today we prove that patience wasn't cowardice. Today we show the darkness that this galaxy will not fall without a fight. All ships engage at will. The Devourers reached attack range. The Calrics opened fire first, their plasma cannons painting space with streams of superheated matter. The VRYNN followed with their signature particle beams. ZX-Thani ships launched swarms of kinetic projectiles. All of it struck the Devourers and simply disappeared. The enemy vessels phased partially out of normal space, allowing attacks to pass through them harmlessly. Anchors away, Chen's tactical officer reported. From concealed positions throughout the fleet, human ships launched spherical devices that raced toward the Devourer formation. The spheres activated as they reached optimal distance, generating fields of stabilized spacetime that spread like bubbles of normality through the chaos. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Devourers caught within the anchor fields suddenly became solid, fully present in normal space. Their geometric forms flickered and stabilized. For the first time in 10,000 years they were vulnerable. All ships target the anchored zones. Hit them now. The combined fleet poured fire into the trapped Devourers. Armor that had withstood star-death temperatures cracked under concentrated assault. Ancient machines that had survived millions of years began to break apart under the relentless barrage. But the Devourers adapted. Those outside the anchor fields adjusted their approach vectors, targeting the anchor generators themselves. Beams of energy that could dismantle planets lanced through space toward human positions. Evasive maneuvers. Chin gripped her command chair as the Odyssey twisted through impossible angles, its inertial dampeners screaming protest. Around her, human ships performed maneuvers that would have pulverized organic crews if not for Terran gravity manipulation technology. They weren't fast enough. 3 human cruisers vanished in bursts of light as Devourer weapons found their targets. Anchors 3, 7, and 14 are down, her tactical officer reported. Enemy vessels are phasing again. Chen's mind raced. They'd known the anchors would be priority targets, but losing them this quickly meant. Commander. The urgent call came from Zax Thor. His Calrix face filled her secondary screen, his exoskeleton scorched from near misses. My fleet can't hold this position without anchor coverage. We're taking critical damage. Chin made her decision. All human vessels, pattern Omega. We're going into close proximity. Her bridge crew stared at her in shock. Sir, that's suicide, her XO protested. At that range, if they get a clean shot. They won't. Chen's voice carried absolute confidence she didn't entirely feel. Because we're going to move too fast for them to track. Execute now. 20 human warships broke formation, accelerating to velocities that made them blur on sensors. They dove into the midst of the Devourer fleet, weaving between the ancient machines in patterns that defied traditional combat doctrine. At these ranges, human point defense systems could intercept Devourer weapons before they fully formed. At these ranges, the Devourers couldn't fire without risking hitting each other. And at these ranges, human weapons were absolutely devastating. Deploy the resonance charges. Chin ordered. From each human ship, small devices launched directly into the Devourer's hull structures. They weren't explosives, they were vibration generators that exploited a weakness humanity had found in ancient technical schematics. A weakness in the quantum lattice that held Devourer structures together. The charges activated. The Devourers began to shake themselves apart from within. It's working, her science officer shouted. Their structural integrity is collapsing. But victory came with a price. The TRS Jakarta took a direct hit, its entire port side vaporizing in an instant. The TRS Kilimanjaro rammed a dying Devourer to save a VRWNN cruiser, sacrificing itself in a ball of fusion fire. Human crews died by the hundreds, buying seconds for their allies to regroup. Commander Chen. Zaxthor's voice cut through the chaos. Your ship, behind you. Chen spun to see a Devourer emerging from phase directly behind the Odyssey, its weapons charging for a point-blank kill shot. There was no time to evade, no time to... A Calrix heavy cruiser, Zaxthor's flagship, appeared between them, taking the blast meant for humanity's command ship. The Calrix vessel shuddered under the impact, armor boiling away, but it held long enough for Chin to maneuver clear. Zaxthor. Chin screamed into her communicator. Still, alive. The Calrix commander's voice was pain-filled but determined. Told you, we pay our debts. Now finish them. The tide turned. With Devourers trapped between anchor fields and human close combat tactics, the Allied fleet pressed their advantage. One by one, the ancient machines fell, their harvested energy bleeding back into normal space as their containment fields failed. When the last Devourer dissolved into component atoms, the fleet hung in exhausted silence. Casualty report, Chin said quietly. 37 ships lost. 42,000 crew members dead or missing. Including. Her communications officer swallowed hard, including Commander Zaxthor. His flagship's core breached 10 minutes ago. Chin closed her eyes. They'd won the battle. But at such cost. Incoming transmission from Ambassador Okafor, her communications officer reported. Okafor's image appeared, his expression grave. Commander, you did it. The primary wave is destroyed. But our deep space sensors are picking up more signatures. Hundreds more. This was just the vanguard. I know. Chin straightened in her chair, grief and determination warring in her chest. How long until the next wave? Best estimate? 3 weeks. Maybe less. Then we have 3 weeks to prepare. To build more anchors, to fortify defenses, to coordinate better. She looked directly into the camera, speaking not just to Okafor but to everyone listening throughout the fleet. Today we proved the Devourers can be stopped. Today we showed that united, we are stronger than the darkness. And we'll keep fighting, keep standing together for as long as it takes. She paused, remembering Zaxthor's sacrifice, remembering all those who had died today. Send word to the Council. Activate all human reserve fleets. It's time to show the galaxy what we've really been building for 40 years. Okafor nodded slowly. You mean? The manufacturing worlds. The hollow moon shipyards. Every hidden facility we've constructed and concealed. Chen's voice carried steel. We didn't just build ships. We built an industrial capacity that can replace our losses faster than the Devourers can inflict them. We built foundries that can produce anchors by the thousands. We built a war machine designed for exactly this kind of extended conflict. She gestured to the battered but standing fleet around her. Today we fought as allies. Tomorrow we fight as one civilization. The Devourers taught the ancient species fear. But they've never faced humanity. They've never faced a species that prepares for the impossible, that turns patience into power, that refuses to surrender even when facing gods. Through the viewscreen, Chen watched as emergency repair crews, human, Calrix, Vioranin and others, worked side by side on damaged vessels. She thought of Zack's Thor who had died saving her. She thought of all the crews, all the species, all the former enemies who had stood together against extinction. The Devourers were coming. Hundreds of them, thousands perhaps, hungry and ancient and terrible. But the galaxy was ready now. United not by treaties or politics, but by survival. United by the revelation that differences meant nothing when facing oblivion. United by humanity's patient sacrifice and the courage of every species who chose to stand and fight. All ships begin recovery operations, Chen ordered. We mourn our dead. We honor their sacrifice. And then we prepare for the next wave. She touched a panel accessing private communications. This is Commander Sarah Chen to all Terran facilities. Authorization code Omega 7. Begin full activation of reserve assets. The galaxy needs its shield. Humanity answers the call. Across 12 hidden worlds, massive shipyards stirred to life. Inside hollowed moons and concealed asteroids, assembly lines that had waited decades for this moment began to move. Humanity's true industrial might, hidden even from their new allies, awakened. The Devourers had numbers. They had age. They had technologies that bent physics. But humanity had patience. And time. And an entire galaxy of allies who had finally learned what the humans had known all along. That survival required not just strength but unity. Not just power but preparation. Not just courage in the moment but sacrifice across decades. The age of hiding had ended. The time of standing alone had passed. Now humanity and all the galaxy species would face the darkness together, shields raised, weapons ready, refusing to become just another chapter in the Devourer's endless harvest. The silent armada was silent no more. And the galaxy would survive.